All right, if you're sitting the Queensland bar exam, you can pretty much bet you're going to see a question on expert evidence. Get it wrong, and you're leaving critical marks on the table. But if you get it right, you show you've really got a handle on things. So today, we're going to build your exam playbook, a step-by-step guide to controlling expert evidence using the Uniform Civil Procedure Rules, or as we all know them, the UCPR. Let's get into it. So here's our game plan. We're going to walk through 5 critical stages. First up, seeking directions from the court. Then we'll cover how the court actually manages experts. After that, we'll dive into the rules for when you've got multiple experts. Then we'll look at the carrot and stick of immunity and costs. And finally, a really important jurisdiction-specific trap that you absolutely have to avoid in the exam. So picture this. You're in a proceeding and you know expert evidence is coming. What's your opening move? Well, the UCPR is crystal clear on this. You don't just sit back and wait for the other side to make a move. No, you get on the front foot and you apply to the court to take control of the whole process. Okay, think of this as your strategic 1-2 punch. Step 1 is Rule 426. That's your trigger. The second expert evidence is on the cards. You can apply for directions. And this isn't just a nice idea, it's a core duty. That application then unlocks Step 2, the court's really extensive powers under Rule 427. So for your exam, write these down. Rule 426 to apply, Rule 427 for the court's powers. Got it? Good. And believe me, Rule 427 really changes the game. The court stops being a passive umpire and becomes an active manager of the whole thing. Just look at the scope of this power. The court can set deadlines, it can limit the actual issues the experts can even talk about, and, this is a big one, it can cap the number of experts on any given issue. This is how the... Okay, so what do you do when you're staring down the barrel of a classic battle of the experts, with one on your side, one on theirs, both ready for a big showdown at trial? Well, the UCPR has a specific, really powerful tool designed to stop that from happening. It's called the expert conference. And you might be thinking, why, right? It's a fair question. Why would you force these highly paid experts who've been hired by opposing sides to get into a room together before the trial? It kind of seems counterintuitive, but there's a very clear strategic purpose. And for that, we need to look at Rule 428. Judge Kingham really nailed it here. The purpose of Rule 428 is, and I quote, to reduce the issues in dispute and to limit the scope of expert evidence at trial. I mean, it doesn't get clearer than that, does it? It's all about cutting through the noise to get a just, fast, and cost-effective resolution. It's pure efficiency in action. So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, Justice James Wood pointed out a bunch of benefits. You know, when experts have to justify their opinions to other experts, the really extreme views tend to soften up. And it's way easier to concede a point in a conference room with your peers than it is under a tough cross-examination in court. The result is simple. The real disagreements get isolated, and the court's valuable time isn't wasted. Okay, so the UCPR isn't just a rule book with procedures. It has real consequences, and it uses this classic carrot and stick approach to make sure that both the experts and the parties are playing by the rules. It's all about protection on one hand and penalties on the other. Let's break this down. The carrot, which you'll find in Rule 429C, is immunity for the expert. This lets them give their frank, honest opinion in their report without being scared they're going to get sued for it. It's the same protection they'd have in the witness box. Then there's the stick, under Rule 429D, and that one's aimed squarely at the parties. If you needlessly go and hire a bunch of experts when a single joint expert would have worked just fine, the court can hit you where it hurts with a costs order. And listen, don't think for a second this is just some idle threat. The Supreme Court itself actually issued a practice direction to hammer this point home. So the key here is that Rule 429D gives the court real teeth to enforce this whole philosophy of efficiency. So for your exam, here's the takeaway. If you spot a party being totally unreasonable about experts, your mind should immediately jump to a potential cost sanction under Rule 429D. All right, we're almost there. But there's one final, absolutely critical detail. And honestly, it's a classic exam trap. If you get this wrong, you're just throwing away easy marks. And it all comes down to knowing exactly which court you're in. Okay, I need you to listen very, very carefully to this. Rules 429E and 429F, these are the ones that govern appointing experts after a proceeding has already kicked off. They apply only in the Supreme Court. They do not exist in the district court or the magistrate's courts. If you apply them in an exam problem set in a lower court, that's an immediate red flag for the examiner. Just remember, Rules 429E and 429F are Supreme Court exclusive. So there you have it. That's your UCPR Expert Evidence Playbook. You know you need to apply for directions with Rule 426, which unlocks the court's powerful management tools under 427. You know to use conferences under Rule 428 to narrow down the issues, and you know the consequences, immunity under 429C and cost sanctions under 429D. See, this isn't just a set of rules. It's a strategic toolkit that you can use in your exam and, more importantly, in your practice. Now go and master it.